It's a pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Gary Brausen. Gary is a hockey player, a runner, a fitness guy, and a non-smoker, which is relevant, as you will soon see. He was shocked when he was diagnosed with lung cancer in 2011. Like most people in the United States, he thought that lung cancer only happened to smokers. The diagnosis rocked his world and brought a sense of disbelief to his wife, his 2 sons, and all who knew him. He was not expected to make it. Happily, he did. He's here today on behalf of a Breath of Hope Lung Foundation, which was founded in Minnesota in 2007 by lung cancer patients and their families. So please join me in welcoming Gary Brausen.
Thank you, Andrea. Thrilled to be here today. Thrilled to be here at all. I'm a Bloomington resident. I live 7 minutes from here, so it's really good to be home. I have 3 pieces of housekeeping here. First of all, there's literature on each of your tables. I represent a Breath of Hope Lung Foundation, and as I tell my story, it'll be very obvious as to how I became involved with this wonderful foundation. I'm going to pass around this clipboard, and by putting your name and your email on here, you can get our quarterly newsletter that we send out every quarter and monthly e-new. So I'll start that with Dave. You can pass that around. And the third thing, I have free radon kits. Everybody knows, I think everybody in this room knows about radon, right? How many people here have tested their house for radon? Okay, so you're ahead of the curve. If you haven't, I have free radon kits here. So please see me afterwards. And if we run out of time, I will stick around as well and answer any questions that you may have. Joining me today is my father, Donovan. You can also call him Henny if you'd like, because of his bad jokes. Anyway, as Andrea mentioned, the subject today is lung cancer. It's not a fun one. It's very sobering indeed. I'll be sharing with you my lung cancer story, some lung cancer statistics and facts that I'm sure will surprise all of you. And we'll introduce you to, as I mentioned, a Breath of Hope Lung Foundation, an organization I am so very proud of being part of. My journey started back in 2010. I turned 50 that year, and life was pretty good. I was gainfully employed as an engineering director at Seagate Technology, Seagate having a very large presence in Bloomington. I'm actually in the Shakopee facility. I was playing competitive hockey 3 mornings a week with my colleagues at work. Things were going really well. Physically, I was bulletproof, so I thought. I prided myself, I was always a salad or vegetables and fruit guy. That's what I ate. I prided myself on watching what I ate, getting some form of exercise nearly every day, and in general, taking really good care of myself. I was a poster child for how to live a healthy life. Andrea also mentioned I never smoked. I never smoked a day in my life. In November of that year, I noticed a cough that persisted and was worsening. Initially, I did not think much of it, since most people, including my father, were coughing at that time of the year. I remember we'd get on the phone and I'd say to him, "How's your cough?" "Oh, my cough's okay. How's yours?" "Oh, I still got it." This just went on and on for weeks. I also noticed some weight loss, but I did not think much of it. Then one day at work, a colleague stopped me in the hall and asked, "Are you okay? You look terrible." After thanking him for the compliment, I walked to the nearest bathroom and took a hard look at myself in the mirror. I hadn't looked at myself in the mirror for a long time because I knew things were changing. As I looked closely at my face and stared deeply into my eyes, I said to myself, "He is right. You look like you're dying." I would later find out that I actually was. What followed was a series of appointments with pharmacy minute clinics, my primary care physician. In one memorable appointment early on with my doctor, I expressed to her some concern regarding my condition. My doctor responded by saying, "Oh, Gary, you don't have cancer." She thought I was a hypochondriac. After being misdiagnosed as having a virus multiple times, and this is the way lung cancer goes. Lung cancer is the last thing they think it is. So, there's multiple appointments when they're trying to figure out what it is. After being misdiagnosed as having a virus multiple times and trying different courses of antibiotics unsuccessfully, I found myself in my doctor's examination room one more time and heard once again that all I had was a virus and not to worry. As I opened the door to leave, I heard a stern voice in my head say, "Get a chest x-ray, get it right now." I turned to my doctor and demanded one immediately. Considering how things played out, the voice in my head and that x-ray saved my life. The chest x-ray analysis led to yet another misdiagnosis. Images revealed a cloudy mass collected on the bottom left lobe of my left lung, and the doctors were convinced I had pneumonia. After one round of aggressive antibiotic, follow-up x-ray indicated no improvement. A chest CT scan, pulmonary function test, and bronchoscopy were then ordered to better pinpoint what was going on with me. I was becoming more concerned by the day, but even in my wildest dreams, I could not imagine the diagnosis I would receive. On Tuesday afternoon, March 15, 2011, around 3 o'clock, as I laid on my couch, alone in my house, the telephone rang. The voice on the other end was my pulmonologist, and the first thing he said to me was, "I'm sorry, Mr. Brausen, you have lung cancer." Upon hearing this, I stood up and paced around my living room nervously, uttering random thoughts and questions to the voice on the other end of the phone. I nearly collapsed to the floor due to the weakness in my legs and the dizziness in my head. After hanging up, I was neither mad nor sad, but in a state of absolute shock. Follow-on scans and biopsies indicate I was stage 3B. I'm no doctor, but I think B stands for really bad. That the non-small cell cancer was aggressive but was confined to my left lung. On April 7, 2011, I had the diseased left lung removed with one infected lymph node discovered during surgery. Margin testing indicated that cancer cells were left behind and that follow-on treatment was required. A 3-month course of brutal chemotherapy and 7 weeks of radiation were conducted with the hope of mopping up any cancer cells that were left over, even with this kitchen sink approach that was designed to bring me to the edge of death. The doctors were convinced that the cancer would come back, would do so quickly, and would return with a vengeance. The doctors also indicated that once it returned, they would have no treatment in their arsenal to stop it. At that point, I would have been out of options. This prognosis was communicated to my family and friends on multiple occasions, and I chose to ignore it. Each time bad news was mentioned in my presence, my brain literally shut down. It did not process what was being said as a protection mechanism. Doctors asked me things such as, "Do you have a will, or are your affairs in order?" They said that my prognosis for survival was bleak, on the order of less than 1%. Unbeknownst to me, my best friend worked on his eulogy for my funeral. He also planned a golf outing that I thought was just an ordinary trip with some friends. Turns out it was meant to be one last hurrah for me. They paid for my trip entirely, thinking I was going to die, and I'm surprised they haven't asked for the money back. Just kidding. My treatment concluded in October of 2011, and I returned to work in mid-November after missing nearly 7 months. It's been nearly 4 years since my surgery, and I'm cancer-free. Taking into consideration the aggressive nature of the cancer and the amount of time that has passed since it was last seen, my oncologist has concluded that the cancer is not in remission, but it's gone and will not ever recur. Yes, by the sheer grace of God and with the help of some of the very best cancer practitioners in the world, cancer did not win. I am one of the lucky few, as you'll see in the statistics. Despite having only one lung, I have returned to the ice, ran multiple 5Ks, and organized and rode in the first annual Minnesota White Ribbon Ride, 2-day, 150-mile bike event from the Twin Cities to Duluth to raise lung cancer awareness in greater Minnesota and to promote their August Run Walk signature event for a Breath of Hope Lung Foundation, a Minnesota-based organization that is just devoted to lung cancer. I'm currently a sitting board member, a member of their medical research team, and serve as a mentor for lung cancer patients and caregivers as part of their ambassador program. It is this program I am most passionate about. I cannot tell you how many times I sat in an infusion room, saw people all by themselves. It's a lonely place if you're there all by yourself. I'll talk about a breath of hope in a minute. During my journey, besides not paying attention to depressing information regarding my condition or prognosis, I decided early on to not ever look on the internet and look up lung cancer. Yes, I purposely ignored the depressing facts and statistics regarding this devastating disease to protect myself. Yes, ignorance was truly bliss. Now that my journey is complete, I ignore them no longer and fully committed to changing them. Following quiz, you guys didn't know you were going to have a quiz, did you? And facts illustrate the devastation of this disease and how unfairly it is treated. Question 1. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Does lung cancer have an awareness month? It just blows me away how little people know about this. We do. It is November. You know, in October you got the NFL's got, all the pink equipment, and the Major League Baseball's got the pink bats. Yes, lung cancer does have an awareness month. It is November. There's little media attention and almost no corporate attention, even though lung cancer kills nearly twice as many women as breast cancer. How many people knew that? So you got breast cancer. I don't want to take anything away from breast cancer. It's a noble thing. But lung cancer is especially affecting young women at an alarming rate. Non-smoking women. Oh, that's for sure. That's for sure. Speaking of which, 5-year survival rate for breast cancer is higher than 90. I believe it's 94%. So they've done Susan G. Komen, they've done a really, really good job with it. My hat's off to them. What is the 5-year survival rate for lung cancer? Any guesses? Pretty close. 16%. And that number has not moved in the last 20 years. We've made very little progress. True or false, lung cancer only affects smokers. You better get this one right. If you don't, I'm leaving. Of course, that's false. In fact, half of those diagnosed each year are non-smokers, either never, like me, or former smokers. Everybody remembers J.P. Parisi, right? Just recently died of lung cancer. He gave up smoking in 1973. 1 in 5 women diagnosed with lung cancer never smoked. So about 20% of women diagnosed with lung cancer. I'm running into more and more athletes that are coming down with lung cancer. It's amazing. So the top bullet talks about the smoking stigma, which is, basically is lung cancer is caused from smoking, and smokers deserve their fate. So that's, and we know that stigma is wrong, and that stigma affects how much media coverage we get, how much corporate support we get for our foundation. Lung cancer claims more American lives each year than breast, colon, and prostate cancers combined. Kills 2,500 Americans every year, kills 160,000, 2,500 Minnesotans a year, 160,000 Americans a year. This last bullet talks about the funding per death. So lung cancer gets about $1,442 per cancer death per year compared to breast cancer, which is $26,398. And you saw what the survival rates were comparing the two. Lung cancer kills twice as many women as breast cancer. There was just an article published that talked about lung cancer in developing countries, and the author of it said lung cancer just overtook breast cancer in killing more women, but that's absolutely not false. Lung cancer kills twice as many women as breast cancer. You just have to look at the statistics. The other thing is smoking causes more than just lung cancer. It causes all sorts of different cancers. So it's not specific to lung cancer. So heart disease, that can be caused by smoking, poor eating habits, and inactivity, but we don't reduce our funding because people have made, poor eating habit choices, right? Lung cancer suffers from poor funding because the stigma is that people got it because they smoked. So how many people in this room have never made a bad choice in their life? I want you to stand up. I should probably sit down, right? The fact of the matter is everybody's made a bad choice in their life, right? And that is no reason not to fund a disease because somebody has made a bad choice. We know heart disease can be because you ate poorly. Here's a bullet on the Susan G. Komen back in 1980 talking about mammograms. They were not covered by insurance at that time. They weren't trusted to be safe. But now they're very key in keeping the mortality rate of lung cancer low for breast cancer. And as I mentioned, it's about a 94% survival rate. The counterpart in lung cancer are chest CT scans. And I just saw that Medicare now will cover those for at-risk patients, people that smoked in their life. But the reality is that could be applied to more people, as we're seeing, because lung cancer is not affecting just smokers. And if we did use chest CT scans as a screening method, we could improve the mortality rate. The mortality rate now is 84%. We could bring that a lot. We could reduce that quite a bit by using that as a proactive screen. A little bit on symptoms. There's never been every lung cancer illness or instance is different. So you may get one, you may get two or three of these. The ones that I got mostly were fatigue, and probably this one here, but it can take on all sorts of different symptoms. I guess if you find yourself, the one thing that I noticed the most was persistent cough, and I'm seeing that in more patients. If you find that you have a persistent cough and they're not getting anywhere with it, demand answers and get to a specialist. That's my recommendation. In terms of causes, smoking, we talked about radon. I have the kits here. I actually checked my house for radon, and it's low. So it's not radon gas. It's not secondhand smoke that caused my lung cancer. It wasn't smoking. I've never been exposed to asbestos. I don't have a family. We have no lung cancer in our family. So my case was clearly odd. It's probably this last one here. Air pollution really beginning to emerge as a real threat in terms of lung cancer. I know in China in the last 10 years, lung cancer is increasing at an alarming rate. In fact, I just read there was a 9-year-old girl in China that has lung cancer. I mean, that's just amazing. So how do you prevent it? Be proactive. If you smoked in your lifetime, or if you feel like you're at risk, go get an LDCT scan. Like I said, they are covered by Medicare now for at-risk patients. Check your house for radon. I got the kits here. Let your doctor know if your house tests positive for radon. and you can talk about that. There are mitigation systems they put in if you do have high radon in your house. We had one installed even though radon was not a factor in my case. Talk about screening and your own risk factors. I mentioned this already, but when you have a cough and it doesn't go away and you have it for weeks, seek a second opinion, get to a specialist. And again, just talking about with your physician, your family history and so forth. So a little bit about A Breath of Hope. So it was founded in 2007 by a group of lung cancer patients. Our signature event is the Run Walk, where it will have, is it our 9th annual, I believe, this year? So it started with a Run Walk 2 years before this, and now we're in our 9th year on the Run Walk. That's in August at around Lake Harriet. But we have kind of a three-pronged approach to addressing lung cancer. Basically, we take all the money that we collect, and we are funding lung cancer research. This is kind of a different model. We've actually hired 2 research fellows. We're paying their salaries to fund lung cancer projects that we're interested in. There's a lot of foundations that collect money and they send their money off to another institution, and then that institution decides how to spend the money. We're making the decisions within A Breath of Hope Lung Foundation. We picked 2 doctors, we vetted them, we vetted their projects, and that's what they're working for us. And so I'm very proud of that model. There's very few foundations that work according to that model. I actually don't know of any other. The White Ribbon Awareness Program, that's kind of what I'm doing today, getting out and talking to folks, educating them on lung cancer. We're really especially trying to get in with the low-income communities. That's where lung cancer is really hitting right now, as well as wealthier communities as well. And patient and caregiver support, I'm most passionate about that. When you have something like this that happens to you, it is really difficult not only on the patient but also on the family. So we're there to provide rides, companionship, public speak, whatever we can do to educate and support lung cancer patients and their families. That's what we're off to do. So what are we after here? What are we seeking? Let's end the lung cancer smoker stigma. Let's not believe that anymore. It is not true. It's unfair and unkind as well. I mean, to see what lung cancer patients go through, even if you did smoke, you do not deserve to be treated that way. Fair federal funding for lung cancer research. We just asked for lung cancer to be treated fairly. We asked for our federal legislators to look at the statistics. The statistics bear it out. We need attention for lung cancer. Insurance coverage for all LDCT lung screenings, not just for people that smoked in the past or are heavy smokers now, but also a screening mechanism for anybody that wants one. And ultimately what we want is a cure for lung cancer, which is a very complicated beast. So at the foundation, what do we believe? We believe every life is worth fighting for. We don't care if you smoked or not. We don't judge, and nobody should. Lung cancer is everyone's cancer. So we got 4 events coming up in 2015. We just had the tea on Saturday. I guess it was really, I think that was for women only. And we had a great increase in attendance this year over last year. I think it was 61%. If you're golfers, June 12th at Deer Run. It's a great event. This will be the 3rd annual this year. The 9th annual, that's our signature event, the Run Walk. We get upwards of 2,000 people for that event. Great event, great family event. You can either walk or you can run. You can run a 5K if you'd like. This is the event I started myself. We biked to Duluth last August. We have our 2nd annual this year, so if you're a biker. So we got kind of something for everybody if you're interested. So how can you help? take what you learned today and talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, talk to your colleagues. Visit our website. There's a lot of really good information out there. There's a lot of good stories. My stories out there, others as well, how this disease is affecting people's lives. Learn about the risk factors. We talked about some of them today. And if your heart wants to, donate to a Breath of Hope Lung Foundation. If you want to talk more about the foundation, I'll be around afterwards. We can talk about it and talk about what we're doing. If you want to volunteer, we'll always take volunteers. This is the website you go to get more information.
Is Breath of Hope connected with the American Lung Association?
Not at all. Lung, the difference being the American lung takes on a lot of different lung diseases. I think but a Breath of Hope is strictly focused on lung cancer. That's it. Yep. Yes, sir.
What methods are available for detection other than CT scans? From my understanding, their CT scans have a rather bad rap right now because their radiation dose is relatively high.
Yep, and they can be inconclusive as well. That's the best we have right now. Is that you can go low dose, which is what I talked about. They can also amp up the radiation amounts, and they get a clearer picture. But even in my case, they didn't even know it was lung cancer until they did a biopsy. But doctors are working on looking at different things in the blood, less intrusive methods of detection. But that's why we need funding for these things. That's one of the things that one of the types of projects that are being worked on right now is how can we detect it less evasively, right?
Did they suspect sarcoidosis along the way?
They never mentioned that to me. No, they went right from pneumonia to all the tests and the biopsies and everything, and it came back as lung cancer. Yep, nothing in between there. Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about radon testing from the perspective of, is it something that should be done every few years, or,
My understanding is it's a one-time thing. My understanding is not an annual thing. Now, I could be wrong. But I would say, things could change. Maybe, certainly not every year. But it's really relatively inexpensive too. If you wanted to be absolutely certain every 5 to 10 years, unless something changes. That's a good point. Very good point.
You want the radon test to be where you're spending your time. So you don't want to be testing the basement if you're never spending any time down there. If your bedroom's on your main level or your upper level, you kind of want to test that because that's where you want to know if you're being exposed. So if you have a basement that's just a basement, like a storage, even there might be some radon down there, that might not be as important as knowing that it's on your main level where your bedroom is.
Could you stick around for us?
Yeah, I can stick around as well.
Thank you.